Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Love 360 365. And I'm Stella Laline, your host, with today Morgan Field, who is an intuitive life coach. Hi, Morgan, how are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too. At Love 360 365, our purpose is to remind everyone that our essence is love. And because our essence is love, we are powerful. There's a lot of things, there are a lot of things that we forgot about who we truly are. And the purpose of having this podcast is to have that reminder. And I have many wonderful people like you reminding us on different topics how powerful, how great we are, and how we can strive to be actually who we are. So I'm going to ask you to. We want to get to know you a little bit better before we dive into the topic. So, what is your purpose?
Um, well, I feel like the purpose is really aligned with our topic today, but it's to help us each live our lives truly in alignment with our truth and our authenticity of who we are, and to really unveil all the layers of ourselves that got cluttered by who we were taught we were supposed to be. So it's actually a process of unbecoming just as much as it is of the becoming. And just ushering people through that experience to not only find their own center, which I feel like when you are centered and grounded in your authenticity and your truth, you're unstoppable, not only in love and also in business and in just your soul expansion and your joy. So yeah, so I'm here, and I'm a joy factory. So I'm here to just light this world up with joy and fire and inspiration.
Awesome, awesome. How did you get into coaching? How did you get there?
I feel like my coaching journey started when I was lost, right? So it was kind of like, I remember waking up almost from being in this maybe 10 plus year period of time that was darkness, or I call it my blackout years, metaphorically and probably literally. I used to drink a lot, and it was just a lot of numbing. And then I just remember having a few of these micro experiences that really allowed me to wake up and to really reassess, well, what is living? And I started actually working with other coaches to help me find myself and unbecome the things that I had become. And back then, I've been coaching for about eight or 9 years. Back then, it wasn't really a term that was used that much. I didn't even know what it was, but I remember being at someone else's retreat and I was like, this is amazing. What is this thing called that you're doing? And the individual who was holding the space for the retreat said, oh, this is called life coaching. And I was like, I want to do this because I wanted to return the gift to the world that I had been given, the gift of awakening and expanding and joy. I felt like joy was like the best kept secret on this planet, and I didn't want it to be a best kept secret. I wanted it to be something we all had access to. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to become this so that I can give this gift back to the world.
Great, great. And I'm assuming that you trained yourself and you attended some course and some certification to actually become that to the fullest, right?
So I did go through a coaching program, like an official coaching program. And I always tell coaches, because I actually have a training to help coaches either step into the space or to expand in their space, but I work specifically with intuitive life coaches to help them really use their soul gift in tandem with the coaching skills. And because it is a very unique thing that ends up happening when you're allowing yourself to actually not just use the skills you learn in a program, but to allow yourself to let it be fully and authentically yours and you, and not use a template, and not, sometimes I watch people go through programs and it's like, oh, this is how I have to do it because this is what I was taught and this is the process, right? But our magic is in being ourselves and really giving ourselves permission to show up fully as ourselves. So yes, I have gone through training, but to be honest with you, I've learned more in coaching than I did in learning the skills of coaching.
I'm sure it's like anything in life, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to talk to us about your two books at the end. Right
Sure.
now, we want to dive into the topic of today, and thank you for being here to share that with us. So, we're going to talk about how to leverage your truth as the key that unlocks the intimacy and abundance you seek. So, let's start with explaining what truth is.
Yeah. So truth is really about accessing you. It's accessing self. Truth is your core. Truth is your knowingness. Truth is your feelings. Truth is your authenticity. And so often in life, love, and business, we live life outside in instead of inside out. And truth is about living inside out. And so I watch and I've fallen prey to looking to the outside world to tell me how I should live, how I should love, and how I should grow a business. And this concept of leveraging your truth as the key that unlocks the intimacy that you crave and the abundance that you crave. It's really about learning to go inside, listen for whatever the guidance is inside. It's facing your shadows. It's feeling the feelings that feel uncomfortable to feel. It's sitting in the discomfort. It's sitting in anger. It's sitting in pain. It's sitting in boredom. And it's allowing the things that we typically avoid to be the things that inform us what we want, who we are, and which direction to go. But usually we do we're like this, or we avoid, or, we kind of look every which way. And I just see the magic that happens for individuals in not only their soul journeys and expansion, but their business expansion as well, and their love expansion, when they're really willing to sit in their truth, even when the truth is going to cause them pain, to break free from who the world taught them they should be.
So, and I relate to what you're explaining. I'm going through the process, and sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's really painful, because I'm like, how did I end up being that? And I realize more and more the thoughts that are inside, and I thought it was me, realizing it wasn't me. So, how do you sit in your truth? How do you sit in your truth so that you can leverage that truth?
Well, let me ask you a question. When you said that you thought the truths were you, but they weren't you, or you thought the thoughts were you, but they weren't, what do you mean by that?
Oh, I used to define myself in a certain way, and I used to have beliefs. And now that I'm exploring more my inner being, my inner child, and talking with my guidance, I realized that those thoughts I acquired them at some point, but I'm not aligned with them anymore. They don't make sense to me. I don't even understand how they're still there. So now I have to face them, to name them, and to set the truth as guidance for that truth. Tell me exactly what it is, and allow my loving adults to, as you said, to actually reprogram me or teach me again about who I am.
Yeah, it's so powerful and thank you for explaining that, because that's so relevant to so many people. You are not your thoughts, right? And yet our thoughts create who we are. Our thoughts create our identity, and yet we're not our thoughts. So it's kind of like, well, which is true? And it's like, they're both true. And as humans, we don't really like when both things exist. We like clean lines, like, no, one or the other. But what's interesting is they both exist. And so it's so important to make sure that you're choosing thoughts that actually are going to lead you to joy, expansion, growth in the direction that you want to go. And so the question is, it's really about sitting with what it's like. There are these feelings that we have that bring us so much excitement, but they also terrify us. And those are usually our deepest truths, right? So it's like that initial feeling of like, oh, this thought excites me. If I could be this, that would be so cool. If I could go this direction, that would be amazing. But usually the thoughts that derail us are but I don't know how.
Yeah, true.
Or what will other people think? or oh my gosh, I know this person, and this person isn't going to like this, or well, no one else in my industry is doing this, or what if my partner leaves me, or what, right? And so we do the what ifs and the ba. And so part of this work to excavate what is truth and what is illusionary truth,
Yeah.
right? What is what you were taught versus what is actually who you are. It does require you going one by one to different layers of yourself in your life and say, well, what do you want? And how do you feel? And these are questions we don't usually stop and ask ourselves. And so that, and also it's okay to say, I don't know what I want, and I maybe don't know who I am, but I know this feels shitty, and this feels shitty, and this feels shitty. So maybe these are not who I am, right? So it's also knowing that who we are feels light. It feels joyous. It feels expansive. It feels exciting and scary. But it doesn't feel heavy, and it doesn't feel exhausting, and it doesn't feel, it's not draining. And so I would say that find the points in your life where you're bored, you're exhausted, you're drained, you're uninspired, you're unmotivated. That's usually a clue that there are parts of you that you're being that aren't actually in alignment with your truest core of authenticity. And that's a really beautiful place to start playing with the root.
And something, as you were saying, that is that we are so used to feeling those feelings that sometimes we feel that it is the way it's supposed to be. So it's great that you are mentioning that now every time you can observe and identify those feelings inside of you, just realize that they're not supposed to be there, or it's not supposed to be that way for you. You can access joy. You can access all the type of feelings that make you actually who you are. So I think that's a great thing to sit, take the time to observe those feelings and to identify them and be able to say, I want something else.
Yeah, they're our greatest teachers. It's like I watch people do a couple things. One is sometimes they try to override anger and frustration and boredom with positivity.
Yeah.
As if it's a bad thing to experience those feelings. And it's not bad to feel feelings that you don't want to feel, right? It's not bad to feel anger or frustration or discomfort, but they're our greatest teachers, to your point, if we're willing to sit and observe them. So this is really a game about observing without judging. It's observing so that we can use it as a tool of discernment. And I would also layer this, this topic is so powerful because what I also see people doing so frequently is showing up to the world and to life as who they think they need to be to get the love or abundance. And that means that you're actually literally agreeing with yourself to sell you out for love or abundance. But the truth is if you don't have you can't actually have love or abundance. So that's something big. It's something even I see in, when people are going out and they're dating and they're withholding who they are until the third, fourth date or third or fourth month. And then they're like, oh, by the way, this is who I am. And you're like, okay, this would have saved us both a lot of time if you just would have said this from the beginning, right? And so true alignment, so truth is about alignment as well. True alignment is about being honest and showing up fully as who you are and not hiding who you are from the rest of the world. And that applies in dating, and that also applies in your business, because when you give yourself permission to really show up authentically and not hide the parts of you that you are afraid are going to get judged, that's how you find your true tribe. That's how you find the soul connections, whether it's going to be a romantic partner or a friendship or a business partner or your clients.
This is true. This is very true. This is actually, it sounds good, and it is good to get there, but it's my experience. It's a scary place to be because it's unknown. We haven't learned to sit in who we are and be okay that people may not like what they see, or people may not agree with the way we want to conduct our life. So being able to be authentic to yourself, but to the people in front of you. This is like the great one of the greatest thing I found to be challenging as well in the process. So what would be your advice on that?
One of the things I've personally uncovered as I've done this work and ushered other people through it is what we're afraid that others are going to think about us is actually our own judgment of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because when we are good with us, we don't care. So it's kind of like looking at what are the areas of your life where you don't mind being judged, right? Like it's because you don't judge you in those areas. So as an example, if someone is triggered by my joy, I have more joy. I have access to more joy than most humans on the planet, right? And so if someone's triggered by that, I don't judge my joy, so it doesn't bother me. I know when someone's triggered, that's theirs. But there are other things that, like for a long time, and I can still feel it, but I'm able to be in it because it's practice, right? It's like a muscle. So you have to work the muscle and work the muscle and work the muscle. But for a long time, I didn't share with people that I was intuitive or that I do channel or that I'm able to read someone's energy or that I am able to hear messages from spirit guides. I didn't share that always with people right out of the gates because I think in a lot of ways I was afraid of judging myself for those parts and pieces of who I am. But the minute that I started sharing that, I was able to actually create client connections and friend connections that excites them to have those conversations. So now I get to have these really powerful, expansive, existential conversations with people that are beyond the depth of conversations that most humans ever experience in their life. And it happened because I was willing to be courageous enough to be seen, even though I was afraid and kind of judging myself for it. So that's what it really comes down to. It's like, instead of trying to get right with the world, get right with yourself. That's where I would start. Like, figure out, what are you afraid that you're going to be judged for, and then practice with yourself owning it, and then find your little inner tribe circle and practice being seen with them. Like, find your safe people and practice being seen with them first, and then practice with more and more and more. But again, it's a muscle that you're exercising, and don't expect the first time you pick up the barbell to get a really big, strong muscle.
For sure. For sure. Now the leverage part, because I love the topic. I love it. And I love the word leverage, which I use most of the time in business because I'm in real estate, and leverage is something that I do every day. So in the sense of my truth, my own truth, how do I leverage?
Well, it comes down to the knowingness that the truest abundance of money and love comes from alignment, authentic alignment, because then it's clean energy, it's authenticity. There's no extra efforting or work that goes into being completely transparent and honest. So the way that you leverage truth is you have to have the paradigm, you have to understand that if you really want ease, so it comes down to, if you want love and money in ease, then you leverage truth, because truth is the easiest path. Although, to your point, it's scary, right? But it's actually the quickest path. So it's kind of like the lazy man's shortcut is to try to go around and figure out a way around the work. But then the lazy man who's going around the work actually creates more work.
Yes.
Right? So leveraging, doing the work up front as quickly as possible to be in your truth, to show who you are, to be transparent. So as an example, if your business is real estate, right? You know that in real estate, someone who hides something going on in a house that you're trying to sell, it actually screws the whole deal up. But if you're honest and transparent and you include it in your documents up front, then you're all on the same page and you're able to work with it. And so that is such a metaphor and analogy of life when it comes to business, when it comes to love, is just be honest, just be transparent. And yes, you may, so if something's wrong with the roof as an example, yeah, right, there may be some, you may have to deal with that and you may have to throw some money at it. But if you don't reveal it and it comes out anyways in the inspection, this is such an interesting metaphor, but it's so true, it comes out in the inspection, well then now the seller doesn't trust you. Your realtor is like, why didn't you share that? Like, it just creates all this messy energy. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing in romantic relationships as well, is in dating, they're like, I'm going to wait, like, I'll reveal me fully to you when you already have feelings, because I hope then that you won't judge me because you'll already have feelings and maybe you'll stick around even though there were some things I probably should have told you at the beginning. And it's like, or you could just look at it as that sheet that you do up front when you're going to sell your house, or if you're going to go buy a house, you read the thing and then it's like, oh, I already knew these were some of the issues with the house, or these are some of the things that the house needs work on. Right? So if we could just do this more honestly in relationships of all kinds, like, here's the truth. And then all parties are on the same page. Same thing with business. If you're just honest with clients about what to expect in working with you, and you take the time to actually construct onboarding and offboarding practices, if you have a service or if you have a product, to actually upfront express like what it is and you don't overpromise, right? And so it's like, it's the truth. You're leveraging the honest truth. Even if there are issues, it's like, let's talk about it up front. Or if there are things that need work, let's talk about it up front. And if you lay everything out on the table, then everyone's on the same page and there's no messy, wonky energy. And it actually allows you to have deeper connections, deeper trust, deeper truths, deeper authenticity, cleaner energy, and more money.
And I understand it more and more the way you explain it. It's the more you live in that truth, the more you unlock. So what unlocks is actually living in the truth. Now, the question I'm thinking people could ask would be, okay, that's all good for me. I can do that work. But what if in front of me, whether in business, in relationship, in family, in society in general, I don't have people that are doing the same work as I do or are leveraging their truth as well. So how does that work when around you the world is going in a totally different direction?
Well, the world is, because the majority of people operate in a different paradigm, right? But what energy doesn't lie, and energy is either a magnet or a repellent. And so what you start to notice is that when you operate in truth, you repel people that don't, and you magnetize people that do. So it's the law of energy. Energy does not lie. And so what you're expressing is you're tapping into the collective fear that if I'm in truth, and then I'm alone, and then I don't have clients, and I don't have any partners, and. But that's the very thing, that thought process is the very thing that keeps us locked in our inauthenticity, in showing up in hiding, and showing up in fear, and unveiling in a really slow way that actually costs us to lose time, right? And not assess for alignment. So it's actually, if you really want to surround yourself with people who are expanders, who are abundant, who do live in truth, who are continuously unlocking new layers of intimacy and abundance in their own life, then you have to have the courage to show up in truth and trust that when you do, that's when your true tribe shows up.
This is wonderful. And I love the way you explain it, because it makes a lot of sense. Is that the thing we fear is the thing that we're keeping away from ourselves. So basically, if you want to attract that, show up the way you want to see it so that you attract the same people, your tribe, as you said it. And it's beautiful, because to get and understand that kind of mindset, you have to trust. You have to trust, and as you say, energy. You have to trust the way it works, the universal laws. You have to trust that it's beyond what you can comprehend and what you can think in fear, because truth has this power that when you step into it, you you experience a total different world, even if the same world, but your experience of the world is different.
Yeah, it literally transforms the world that you see and that shows up for you and that you interact with. I mean, and that's why this circles back full circle to the beginning of the conversation, where your thoughts do genuinely create your reality. And so that's where you have to decipher and to be a really powerful tool of discernment for yourself to say, well, what thought is actually serving me in the direction I want to go in, and which thoughts actually feel shitty and they feel inauthentic. And it's interesting because, and I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and what I will tell you is we know deep down when we're being inauthentic. We know when we're hiding. We know when we're omitting. We know when we're stalling and avoiding sharing the truth. We know when we're doing it, because that's a lot of people are like, yeah, but then how do you know? And it's like, no, you know. That's not the question. The question is not, how do I know when I'm lying to myself? Now, granted, are there times where I buy my own BS, and yes, absolutely. But I think that's also the power then in having a coach to say, that's, you're hiding, right? So it's like the deepest layers of hiding, we do sometimes need someone to help be a mirror to us. But usually there are enough layers in our life where we can, it's like a kid in the candy store. There's enough layers in our life where we can identify very easily and very quickly, because we can feel it, where we're just afraid to show up in our truth. And I would say for those people, it's like one baby step at a time. So just pick one tiny little thing that you can do today to show up 1 millisecond more in your truth. And then 2 milliseconds the next day, and 3, right? It's like, it's compounding and it builds. And then eventually the thing that the things I was afraid of a year ago, I'm not, but it's because I have this relationship with fear where I lean towards it and I face it. Right. So, and then my fears today will be different a year from today, because I'm working actively to become more and more of who I am and unbecome who I was told I should be.
Wonderful, wonderful. And time is flying and the conversation is wonderful. I love it. I love it. I'm going to ask one last advice about the topic. For you just said, gave one. If you had to leave one more, what would that be?
It's always easier than our mind convinces us that it is. It is always easier and more magical to be ourselves and to be in truth than all the stories. So to tie to the thing I just said before, right? It's like, just try it. Just try it, right? Try something that feels enough of a stretch, but not debilitating or paralyzing. So something that is enough that you can actually see and feel and experience for yourself the magic and expansion and ease that happens in your life when you show up in truth. And you'll actually get to experience the lightness. Like there's a contrast that happens. Inauthenticity has a heavy energy. Authenticity has a light energy. But you do have to go through the tunnel of the unknown and the fear. So you do have to do the thing you're afraid of. So I think a lot of people would like to learn what are the ways that they could learn in their head what to face the fear versus actually facing the fear. And it's like, no. You can't learn up here how to face fear. You have to learn in the body by doing and being. So just practice and play, showing up. I promise you're going to get enough tiny little reference points that actually build up. And then once you have enough, you're like, oh, what was I afraid of? This was so much easier, right? So it just, is what I would say is like, it genuinely, truly, it is so much easier than our mind convinces us it's going to be. And we often waste more energy thinking about what's going to happen right? Like that's actually harder. It's more energy, it's harder, it's exhausting than doing it. Like it is actually easier to just do it and see what happens.
It is so true. This is true. Well, thank you very much, Morgan. This was a powerful talk. Where can people find you? I know that I can link up with you on Facebook, but where can people find you? On Facebook is fine?
Yeah, so Facebook, you can search Morgan Field. On Instagram, same thing. Or on either, also, you could find Epic Sexy You, which is the original brand name in the original book. Going through a rebrand, we were talking about that before, but that's where it is. And that whole brand is all about self-love, right? Like living, like really identifying who are you, what really lights you on fire, and how do you get to create a relationship with yourself that really lights you up. And then the two books that I have are, Powerful as Fuck, Own Your Shit, Live the Life of Your Dreams. So that's the second book that I did. And that book is all about these micro truths. That book is actually a truth vortex. So this concept of truth, this book, it will kick your butt. So I channel write. So everything I write, I literally just like open myself up and allow divine messages to flow through my fingertips and I type. So I have gone through that process myself. Same thing with Epic Sexy You. They'll kick your butt in the best way possible, right? So Epic Sexy You, again, is like all about self-love, getting to know who you are, really unbecoming who the world taught you to be, becoming who you authentically are. And then the other book, Powerful as Fuck, is all about like not buying your own bullshit. There's so many times that we try to talk ourselves out of our greatness, right? And that book is like, no, it's not going to let you talk yourself out of your greatness. So Epic Sexy is a little bit more gentle and soft love and very like, get it, you got this, you know. And the next one's like, no, we're not messing around anymore. Come on, let's be honest. Let's do this. Nope, you're lying to yourself. Nope, you're getting in your own way. So they're really beautiful, and they work together as a team to really help you step into the abundance and the love and everything it is that you actually genuinely, truly want to create in your own life.
Wonderful. And I'm glad that we were able to share that today with the audience. And hopefully everybody will read it. And then we can have a talk about it. I would love to have a book with you.
Yeah.
About it. What did you get? What insights? And how did you apply that in your life? That'd be great to know. So feel free to reach out to Morgan or just to me as well. I'll be happy to actually have that conversation too. Morgan, thank you very much. It was lovely having you today.
Oh, thanks,
wonderful. Thank you for your insight and thank you for your generosity as well. And again, you guys know where to find her on social media. And then, Megan, maybe you come again for another talk,
sure.
on a different topic, but still to kick our butts because we need to sit and to live with our truth.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in. I'm here. I'm excited. It's an honor. Thank you for sharing the space with me.
All right. And everybody, I see you next. As you know, we are together every first of the month and third of the month as well, live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to see our previous episodes, just go on YouTube or on Facebook. You'll find us. Love 360 365. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.